One. My brother Dan and I are going to tag team here a little bit. It's a few weeks now since BIAC asked me if I would be the host this year for the 10th anniversary. And as I thought about it, our family's been so involved since the beginning that I asked if we could just broaden it out and have the whole family be a part of this evening. And that's in fact what we've done. And we would have everybody come up here on stage and speak. There's probably not room for that. If y'all see, there's actually a great picture on like the 6th page of the program. I think it might be from actually the first Brain Ball, is what it looks like to me. But you can imagine having that gang of hoodlums up here trying to talk to you while you're having your salad. But in any event, it really is our honor to be here tonight and to be a part of what has become a really fun celebration every year and something that's very important to the Brain Injury Association. Hosting something like this, I get asked to do a bunch of these actually every year, and sometimes they involve actually a whole lot of work. You get on the phone, you fill these tables, you actually spend a lot of time making asks. You actually put your brain to work sometimes, and I can't tell you how easy this one has been for our family. The staff, and there's a great group of people just on the page before that picture I just referenced that lists all the people who have been a part of bringing this evening together tonight. And if you wouldn't mind, would you all just give them a big round of applause? We really haven't had to do much in order to bring this wonderful evening together. So we're going to do one thing here is really reflect back on how this thing got started, the Brain Ball, and how critical it's become to the fundraising of the association. I thought I'd turn it over to Dan to do a little of that. So my brother Dan Varga.
Thanks, Paul. So as a physician and a father and a husband and a brother, I'll tell you a little bit of a story. 1997, Silver Charm wins the Kentucky Derby. Great race. Not so good for me. I had $100 to win on Captain Bodgett in the winter book at 75 to 1, which was an awful good thing. Never got by Silver Charm ever. But we got over that. But probably the worst phone call that you can ever get happened the week after the Derby. We were sitting in the house and get a phone call, and it's a police officer in Little Rock, Arkansas, who says, "Are you Dan Varga?" And I said, "Yes, I'm Dan Varga." He said, "Are you Mary Varga's brother?" And I said, "Last time I checked." And he said, "Mary's been in an accident, and we can't find her husband, we can't find any next of kin, and we're wondering if we can communicate through you." And I said, I'm not really sure why Mary still had my name in her pocketbook as contact in case of emergency, but so got the call and started a journey for our family that was a fairly amazing journey, and one of life's great ironies. And that is, when you talk about the Varga family, you're talking about, without question, one of the most singularly blessed families on the face of the earth. We have wonderful mom and dad, and Don, Shirley, now Don, Martha, and grandparents and extended family. And as you think through your life, there was never one of those moments in time that really challenged the fact that all of your blessings were really that. They were blessings. They weren't things you created. And so Mary went through a very, very long ordeal. Mary was in a coma for a couple months. She was in rehab in a hospital and then in rehab for a year. Ultimately came back to Louisville, and again, as I said, one of life's great ironies is the fact that the adverse event that happened to Mary, which was the brain injury she suffered, is without question one of the great blessings of the Varga family. It took a family who had always been very blessed and always been very appreciative of the gifts they had, and was very conscious about giving back to the community for those blessings. and made that whole concept personal. And I'll have to say, I get, since I'm the one that's up here talking, I get to actually call out some names. There was a time when Mary came back to Louisville and she said, I want us. She didn't say, I want me. She said, I want us to get involved with BAC. And the whole family said, of course we will. And it was a handful of folks, Paul, both as a person and as a leader of Brown Foreman, my wife Kim, and the aggregate force that is incredibly powerful, which is all Varga women. And then the wonderful folks at BAC, and then I think Kim and Paul both pulled this in. They went out and found this incredible personality who is Tim Laird, and pulled him in and decided that we were going to have a ball. If we're going to get in this game, we're going to really have a lot of fun. So the first brain ball actually involved a brain, and Kim hornswoggled some ship maker into actually building her a frame, and we spent, I think, 2 days. I still have the X-Acto knife scar from where I stuck a knife through my hand helping do this thing, which is why I'm not a surgeon. And Craig DeWeese and Bob DeWeese could attest to that as well. But so we put the brain on. We have Tim's voice saying, "You are entering the spinal cord. Enter the cerebellum." And it was a wonderful night. Got a lot of folks engaged, but I think that created the sort of momentum that came forward. And I think that has led to one of the great events in Louisville now, which is the Brain Injury Association Gala every year. Varga family is incredibly grateful to be a part of that. We thank all the folks that support it every year, and it's 10 years, and we'll look forward to other, anniversaries like the 25th. So we'll turn it back to Paul. Thanks.
So that's where it came from, and to be honest, when I think back to what could we bring, of course we brought a lot of interest in helping Mary, but we at the time had resources. The other thing we brought were relationships. We had a lot of friends, and that first brain ball, it felt like a party at the Varga house. And ever since, there's a lot of faces that I see who've been here throughout the years. And then there's been many others who've volunteered their time and service, who've actually played the role of host, been on the board. Dan mentioned Tim, but the Keys, the Profansics, the Kitchens, my younger brother Andrew at one point, I think I was a host one year. Everybody through their support of the auctions. I mean, everybody's been just so supportive of the organization. And I started to think beyond, of course, the natural care we have for Mary, why we would get involved in it. I think some of it goes to the fact that in our upbringing, our kids, we were all sort of raised to care. I think it was in our household. And I think I was trying to think about where some of those influences come from. And I think two natural ones were, my father was a physician, so I think probably that care instinct was around us. I've got brothers and sister-in-laws who are in that business as well. But we also, all the children grew up along somebody in our household who had a disability as well. So we understood it from the beginning that there was this need and instinct and responsibility to care. And we were also raised as a group of people to be the very best that we could be. And I'm going to reference something that a few of us here in the room got to see last night. We were at an equivalent event as this in New York for disabled veterans. It was called Stand Up for Heroes, that is hosted by Bob Woodruff. Many of you will remember him as a reporter who had a brain injury covering the war. And he hosts this spectacular event that has performances from Robin Williams and Bruce Springsteen, et cetera. It's just Jon Stewart. It's just a really phenomenal show. But as part of it, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd was asked to play. And he's out on the road, of course, these days with his just a real extravaganza that he's presenting all over the world. And he decided to go to Walter Reed Hospital and he took 3 months, and assembled 14 both physically disabled but also brain injured people, and decided, he and one of his bandmates, they decided they'd build a band for a performance last night. And so here came the bass player from Pink Floyd, and out-rolled in wheelchairs, but also not in wheelchairs, some of them just emotionally or brain-injured soldiers, I think maybe one of them might have looked like they were 30. And they got up and played 3 songs and brought the house down. Just brought that, and you would have thought that Bruce Springsteen was a piker. I mean, it really was an incredible, incredible show. And what it reminded me is that there is greatness in everyone, but there really is the capacity for greatness in the brain injured, in the disabled of the world. And what BIAC and what this evening's about is enabling some of that greatness. And we've seen it in my own sister Mary. And as much as I might remark how remarkable last night was, what we want from the Brain Injury Association of Kentucky tonight is to help those who have the capacity to achieve their fullest, to in fact achieve it. And the resources we raise tonight go a long way toward that. So with that, I'm going to bring up the host of the evening, a good friend of mine and somebody who's been the stable force and voice of the Brain Ball, Mr. Tim Laird.